It is. Yeah. Novelty. Yeah. Let's try this one. Ah, that's better. All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. In particular, we recognize the enduring presence and stewardship of the Indigenous peoples and honor their connection to the lands and waters within Central Frontenac. I would ask everyone if you would stand for the national anthem. Okay, I would ask everyone just to check your cell phones and make sure they're off or on whatever the other setting is. Okay. Our first motion is moved by Cindy Kelsey and seconded by Susan Irwin that the agenda for the regular meeting of council to be held June 23rd, 2026 be approved as, are there any amendments?
No, there is not, Madam Mayor.
So as presented, all those in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest by any member of council or by any item on tonight's agenda? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I declare a potential deemed direct or indirect pecuniary interest on the council agenda dated today, item 2.7 of the closed agenda titled Fence Piccadilly Cemetery, for the reason that my family's involved.
Okay, that we'll ask you to declare once we get into closed session.
Yeah.
So just hang on to that. Okay. All right. Approval of the minutes. Moved by Lynn Clagus, seconded by Dan Meeks, that the minutes from the regular meeting of council held on May 26, 2026 be approved as presented. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Mayor's remarks. I don't have a lot, although people have been doing things for me. And we had the flag raising that happened on the 19th. With the Doreen Davis. Susan, would you like to speak to that? You attended? I think Nikki was there as well. Oh, and Lynn, sorry.
And Bill.
Oh, and Bill.
There was
It takes 4 to represent me, right?
well, big shoes to fill. Yes, so it went very well. We had planned the agenda with Chief Doreen, and there was a prayer. There was, I gave a little talk on your behalf, and followed by the flag raising. And then there was a teaching moment, but to explain about smudging, but with the high wind, we just did there were some handouts, but it was fairly well attended.
Good.
And Bill said that, that I talked relatively well because I talked to people instead of talking like a lawyer. Can you imagine? Anyway, it went well.
Good. Thank you. Okay. Now, does anyone else have anything to add under Mayor's remarks? Any events coming up? Cindy and then Phil?
I would just like to add that I represented our township at the EOTA Rockin' the Trails event in Tweed on the weekend. They had 1,300 bikes that did the ride, and Aaron Pritchett and the Abram brothers played in the grandstands afterwards. And it was a very well attended organize it.
Good. Oh, Philip and then Susan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to remind everybody of Canada Day coming up next Wednesday.
That's true. That's not
Yeah,
close.
it's quick.
I was thinking it was a long way down there.
As always, there's a large lineup of activities to happen. So if you can follow some of the Facebook posts, there's lots of activities going on. And the second thing, Madam Mayor, is the Central Rec is hosting its first youth fishing derby for youth 12 and under. So we've got a number of registrations already, but looking for some more. So we're kind of excited about that. So-
Excellent. Excellent.
and that's July 12th.
The 12th. Okay. And on July 1st, we are doing the opening of the new washroom as well. Good. So lots of stuff coming up real soon. Susan?
I just wanted to mention, Madam Mayor, that you, I, and Nikki were present at the communal services presentation by the Frontenac Municipal Services Corporation. So it was very informative.
Yes, good. I go to so many meetings, I just forget about them. Okay, we are at delegations, and our first delegation is Ty Myers, and he's the agent for Stephen and Judy Sekel. And it's a minor variance application, consideration to waive reduced fees. And before you start, Ty, I'm going to read the motion, and then we'll hear what you have to say. So moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that the presentation from Ty Myers that's about to happen, agent for Stephen and Judy Sekel, is that how you pronounce it? Sekel? Owners of 1123 Freeman Lane be received for information. And the council directs staff to, there's three options. Waive the applicable minor variance application is one. Second one is reduce the applicable minor variance applicant fee to an amount, or require payment of the full minor variance application fee. So keep those in your mind as we see the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thanks, Council, for having me here tonight. The presentation is pretty straightforward, but I'll take you through it. My name's Ty Myers. I'm representing Stephen Judy Sackle for the 1123 Freeman Lane project.
Ty, speak right into that
Okay.
microphone.
Sorry, it's been a while.
Pull it to you.
Oh,
It moves.
all right.
Yeah, there.
Is that good?
Yes.
So we're doing a renovation on Freeman Lane. We already went through the minor variance process. We had a bit of a misunderstanding oversight on the site plan. If you were to zoom in on slide number 3, I don't expect you to because I can explain it, but myself or my designer, I'm not sure who, labeled the minimum setback from the septic to the high water mark, which is also the 1 to 100 floodplain. It was labeled based on a rough sketch, I think done in the winter before we could actually, before the snow was gone, and when the septic designer had a rough sketch of the septic system for us. He thought at that time that 21 meters was suitable, but I did write in there that I did put on also that we had a minimum 15-meter setback from the 1 to 100 floodplain. And so we could have been more clear for sure. But I did assume that since I had written minimum 15-meter setback, that if the final septic design came through and required to go closer to the lake, that note and I think that was the understanding of the Conservation Authority and the Township planner as well. So we are requesting, we're not requesting a new, I guess we have to do a new application. That's in the next meeting. I've been graciously accepted to come back to council for that. We feel that everybody's on the same page, that we're all comfortable with having the septic within 15 meters of the high water mark, including the Conservation Authority and township planners. Everybody agrees that this was an oversight. It shouldn't cost council and the township any additional I want to be respectful of your time. Much additional time or effort. The Conservation Authority has already indicated that they aren't going to have any issues just correcting it. So we're asking for the clients who have already kind of paid some delay costs and waited, and it's going to push back their occupancy date. We've asked that we see what we can do about the fees. And I think that pretty much covers everything else in the slideshow, but I've got a timeline here on one of the following pages of just what has gone down so far. Outside of the slides, progress with the renovations on schedule. So this would in fact hold up the rest of the project from our clients getting occupancy. And other than that, I think I'd just like to field questions because I think I've covered everything.
Okay. Anybody want to start? Bill?
Sorry, I don't know whether it's a question on, but when I got my package, I couldn't see any of these slides. So Pardon me?
Did the accessibility, I messed up that, so I
Oh,
apologize. I
oh,
apologize for that time.
Okay, so personally, I'd like a little bit of time to think about it, that's all. So,
I guess the issue is, do we want them to pay the second time around for something that we can waive? Or we can say, you got to give us a certain amount of money, or you're going to have to pay the full thing and start the whole process all over. And I think what Ty is saying is that the Conservation Authority are happy considering it to be an error and something they're not going to make you pay again for them to come and review because they've already been there.
That's correct, Madam Mayor. And not only has the Conservation Authority indicated that, they've also agreed that it's not going to cost them any extra investigation or any like hours in the office or anything like that. And Councillor McDonald, if I'm happy to try to zoom in on the slides right now if you want to go through it. And just so you understand the process, we have already paid the fees and we are moving forward regardless. The next meeting that we're going to go to is to resubmit that application. So this meeting today is not to decide whether the 15 meters is going to be allowed or not. It's just to decide about the fees if the other one goes through. So
Maybe we should ask Abby if she wants to come to the table and say something. Just your perspective on what work we have to do next time.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, to council, staff don't take a position on the waiver of the fee either way. I can certainly appreciate the situation that the applicant and their client are in. So, but I can also see it from the other perspective. From a staff perspective, essentially the same work is required to be gone through regardless of whether we reviewed the application already or not. Each application is required to be reviewed and assessed on its own merits. So while we already do have the majority of the information we need, we still do have to follow the same statutory process required by the Planning Act. So that work is still required, even though we've already done it once.
And what is the total amount that we're talking about? What is the fee?
The application fee for a minor variance is $1,200.
Okay.
And that's in no tax on that.
Okay. Bill?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, to Ms. McKinnon. How much time less the second go around would it be than the first time?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Everett. Essentially, it's not really, not much is going to be reduced in the timeline other than the fact that the report, most of it can be reused in some form or fashion, so it doesn't have to be necessarily reinvented. So there's some time savings in items like that. For example, the Conservation Authority, we already have their general comments that were in and around the same. So they, I think, have just made a revision to change the application number. So a lot of that work is already completed, but there are certain timelines that can't be amended that are required by the Planning Act.
Right. Okay. Philip?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to ask, did we have to redo site visits as well or not?
So, because this application was initially heard in the winter time, I did try to do a site visit. But the road was just inaccessible past the first property owner on Freeman Lane. But I'm happy to do another site visit. That was the intention going forward. I think it was at that meeting that it was requested that all minor variances, or a meeting before that anyways, but
So we have not gone.
no, we have not physically been to the site.
Okay. Anybody? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ty, if we don't waive the complete fee, is there a number that, if we looked at maybe reducing it a bit, is there a number that the applicants would be satisfied with?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Gowdy. We're just asking, it's actually the applicants, I'm kind of between the township and the applicants, and it's going to be coming out of our pocket because regardless of exactly what all went down, I am taking the ownership for this oversight. So it's not something I really feel comfortable passing on to the owners. To answer your question, I am even as a township employee at one time, I am totally respectful of the time it takes to do the administrative side of all this stuff. So a realistic, kind of what Councillor Everett was leaning towards, a realistic evaluation of how much time it actually took and pay that fee maybe or something like that. But the fact that this was looked at by everyone I've talked to in the planning department, the township side of things, the conservation authority, and our building inspectors, one of them no longer here, this application has been looked at the whole time based off my note of 15 meters. It was pretty obvious that when you go through this process, that you want to try to ask for as close as possible, just in case you have more room. And I wish I had have just changed that other number to 15, even if it ends up being further away than that. But I would say, since it was looked at through the lens of 15 meters the whole time, from everybody that I've talked to, I really don't think, seeing how long it takes to do this administrative stuff, I get it, but I really don't think there's much work involved with the second application.
Okay. Bill and then Lynn?
Just to move through you, Madam Mayor, just to move the issue along here, is that I'm going to throw that we reduce the amount by 50% to cover our end of the cost and go from there. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Lynn?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was going to say the exact same thing, $600 instead of $1,200.
Okay. I see some heads shaking. So I'm going to put $600 in here. So your choice is B. So it will read, and that council directs staff to reduce the applicable minor variance application fee to $600. All those in favor? Carried. There. Now you've got some work to get done. You got to earn that 600 back.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Council. I think that's a really reasonable approach, and I appreciate you taking the time. And we'll see you when we do the next
Minor
meeting.
variance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number
Thank you.
2.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Rhonda Kimberly Young to discuss paving laneways or on private property.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And yes, I was a teacher, so there's a handout. And the handout is longer than what we will say because we wouldn't quite.
That's
have
good.
time for all the
You've only got
details.
10 minutes.
But I do think the details are important, so I hope counselors will take a thorough look at what we're passing around later on. So while we're here to ask about the topic of driveway paving, really this particular question has more to do with some contradictory messages we've been given and a lack of clarity. And what we're concerned is perhaps an uneven application of rules and whether or not the township and the staff have have the authority to step into an area that we're questioning here. So I won't give you all the details, but this is about a house we have on Matthew Street. It's a rental house. Our driveway had gotten messy looking over the years, full of weeds, and we decided we wanted to clean it up. So we have cleared the gravel up. We have added a bunch of topsoil and a whole bunch more green space and lawn. And it was our intention this fall to pave. We don't really know the neighbors, but we did manage to connect with them. And we had a couple of conversations, including a FaceTime conversation on a Sunday evening at 6:15. And during that conversation, we had wanted to know, maybe they'd like to pave a little strip down into their property. Like we had some questions about how they would like us to do it. But they were concerned and they wanted to know whether we needed a permit to pave the driveway and whether some kind of evaluation or assessment could be done. So we said, well, we don't believe we need a permit, but this was a Sunday evening. We said, we'll call the township first thing in the morning and find out. An hour or two later, I started getting some text messages from the homeowner who indicated that, from the town's contact, we were also advised there may be need for a survey when changing an easement and direction from the town about grading. We feel we do need to manage within the town's regulations and complete a survey if needed and to follow any directions about grading and materials. And the town's contact wasn't identified, but Monday morning before the office opened, I got another text that the neighbor, it was the neighbor's father in the first instance, but the neighbor had spoken with the CAO and that the town was going to check out the work, review the records and details and advise them further. So I came down to the office when it opened at 8:30 and I met with Kathy and I asked her several questions. And, they're here, but the key ones are, does the township have any bylaws about paving driveways on private property? Because I hadn't been able to find any in my online search. And the answer was no, you don't need to pave a permit to pave a driveway on private property and there's no bylaws, but you can't divert water and that's in the municipal act. And she gave me information on that. And I asked if there was a defined driveway width. The answer was no. I did explain there is a right of way on our driveway, which we've done nothing to impede. And I just went through and clarified what that meant for us as homeowners, and she agreed with how I was interpreting it. And I asked whether the township did any assessments or evaluations of driveway slopes and grading. And the answer was no. And so I said, there's no one on staff that does that. And she said no. And I asked if someone wanted it done, how would they get it done? And the answer was they'd have to hire a professional engineer. So I went away with my questions answered. I thought it was all clear. She seemed very confident in her answers. And I did encourage her to share them with our neighbor because I just wanted us to all have the same information because I certainly had a sense from the text that their perception might be different. So a few hours later that afternoon, I got an email included there from Kathy saying that in fact, there is an application for us to do if we're deciding to pave and that Steve Gould would review the project with us. So since that was different from what I'd been told in the morning, I sent an email back and the first part of this just reiterates the conversation we had and the questions and answers. But I did say I was, surprised that, a number of pieces had changed. So I asked for copies of the relevant bylaws and any other documents that spoke to the township's role and responsibility about driveways and private property and paving. And that if we could get all of that and the application, that would be great. I asked for that information. I did speak to the paving company. They were quite emphatic that no one needs to get a permit to pave a driveway and they've never heard of this before and they've never had anyone that it applied to before. So a meeting was set up and Bob and I went and met with the CAO and the manager of public works on the Wednesday morning. And the Public Works Manager brought a copy of an application for a permit to pave. When we asked if either of them could point out any relevant bylaws or if one existed, the answer was, I guess. And when we asked if it was enforced, the answer was maybe now that we have a bylaw officer. We were aware that the CAO had had her driveway paved the year before, and we asked if she'd had a permit, and she said no. So we said, well, why is this applying now? And we were told by her that maybe it has something to do with Matthew Street, which we didn't understand. And then the Public Works Manager said that it's needed when driveways divert water onto township roads or streets. But our property is the exact opposite. It's at a much lower elevation than the street. And in fact, the street drains onto our property. And they're both familiar with it, and they acknowledged that that was the case. We asked the Public Works Manager if he would be overseeing it, and he said he would provide suggestions. It was reiterated several times that the application was free, but we said that wasn't what concerned us. We wanted to know what are the bylaws and what are the rules. And we also, know that there had been some more interaction with our neighbors, which is fine. And while we weren't privy to the CAO's conversation with our neighbor's father, we did read the text that we had received from them, which seemed to imply that we were changing an easement. And we're not changing an easement. It's continues to be a completely unobstructed driveway that they're free to use if they wish. Now, they typically don't use it, but if they wish to, there's absolutely nothing impeding their use, and we had no intention of doing that. So we left the meeting, and it was indicated that they would do some more research and try and get us information on the bylaws. I did mention that when I was looking through township documents, it looks like there might be some that apply when there's a new point of access because a new property is being developed and it has to access an existing township road. But that's not the case here. This driveway's been here probably 50 years. It's not new. It's long-standing. It slopes away from the road, and it is on private property, and paving it would not interfere with the right-of-way. So even though we agreed that all of those things were true, we were still told we'd need a permit to pave. So we asked, are there other examples? We understand there's privacy. We're not looking for names, but are there other people who have had to get driveway paving permits? And again, we're still waiting for that information. We also asked, does this mean that now permits are going to be required for all driveways getting paved? And they suggested that they would. And that's why we thought we needed to bring this matter to council, because no one we've spoken to, including the local paving company, has ever heard of having to fill out applications and get permits to have their driveways paved. And it feels like this is a new area of risk for council and for homeowners. And so, as resolution, Bob will speak to. Oh,
You're doing well. I don't even have to speak.
this happens so rarely. I will enjoy it. All we want to know for sure is that staff is not exceeding their authority that is given to them through council or bylaws with respect to private property, and that there should be clarity and communications among the ratepayers. We think staff ought to know these rules. This seems like a pretty straightforward question. Do you need a permit to pave a driveway or not? And we would have hoped someone could have identified a bylaw to answer that for us. We know there's lots of paved driveways all around town, so we know it's not new. And quite a few of them slope toward the road, and we honestly don't believe they had to get permits. So we just want the bylaw or the rule to be applied in an even-handed way, and we just don't understand why a ratepayer would need to ask permission to do something when the CAO did not. We're not suggesting preferential treatment, but there could be some perception of that, and we just think that's a risk for council. So at this point, we still believe the initial answer we got, that no bylaw exists and no permits required, at least not in our specific circumstances, because we haven't been shown anything to the contrary. If we're shown something to the contrary, that's all fine. No one's been able to provide that to us. But if our understanding is correct, we just want to be sure that that information is clarified with our neighbors so that there isn't a new tension where one didn't need to exist. And
if it's now going to be the intention that permits are going to be needed for driveway parking on private property, we think it would be better if that happened with public knowledge and consultation. It certainly would be a matter of concern to homeowners and for the businesses who do the paving in the area and their employees, and we just think people should know. We are not suggesting there should be a bylaw for paving driveways on private property. But if this is a new responsibility that's given to staff to provide suggestions on such matters, I think it leaves a gray area, new costs, more work, and more risk for the township. At the first meeting, we were told township staff did not do evaluations and assessments on private property, and the only professional engineers did that. So does reviewing the project and providing suggestions equate with approval by the township? If the suggestions are inaccurate or someone alleges that they haven't been followed, who's now holding that liability? Is that a new risk and a new workload the township wishes to absorb? Does the township now need to hire several engineers to manage that? And if so, what gets cut along the way? So, you know, we really appreciate your time. We just don't want anyone else frustrated if they pursue this issue. If there's a new set of rules being introduced, we just think they should be clear and well understood. If a bylaw actually does apply to our circumstances, we just like to have it along with the application so that we can follow the rules. We just want to know what they are. And if a bylaw doesn't exist and this is not something that's required, then we just would like that made clear to our neighbor who may have left with a sense that somehow we've changed an easement, need to get a permit for something that we're doing on our own property that doesn't actually impede or interfere with them. So
Okay,
those are our comments.
just want to tell you, we do have a bylaw that's here. I don't know how old it is.
2020 is a 2021, 2022. That's the year. This is the, it's being a bylaw to adopt a policy regulate the construction and maintenance of entrances.
It's maintenance as
For
well.
one thing, we do not do any paving, and certainly Steve is here as well on private property. We don't make comments. What his object is when he's talking about roads, if there's any runoff go to roads, then he gets concerned. But there definitely is a bylaw. Public Works looked it up. And it does say regulations for construction of entrances. 4.10 is finished entrance shall either be paved or topped with 200 millimeters or 8 inches of 5/8 inch crushed stone, minimum as top treatment. If a property owner wishes to pave the entrance, the property owner shall contact Public Works Department for inspection for approval before paving work may commence. This is to ensure that the entrance is properly sloped down from the edge of the pavement. If not, the entrance must be resloped to the proper profile. And as Steve mentioned, anything on private property, he's more concerned with the township road. But in that case,
as we mentioned, and both you and Steve acknowledged, you're very familiar with the property on Matthew Street.
yes,
It's downhill from the township. There is nothing, there it would be impossible for water to run from our property uphill onto any township road.
But where the entrance.
No, the
comes-
entrance slopes right down,
No,
right there.
I'm not saying that. Just listen to what I'm saying. Where the entrance attaches to the road would be where we would be concerned. That there's not a bump there, that it's level and that it's designed properly. But I think the issue here is this bylaw has not been known by a lot of folks that who have paved, or they've been paved and they're getting reconditioned or whatever happens. And a lot of it's along 38 Highway, as you say. Kathy was one. There's been a number of them along the way that have been paved for years, and now they're getting a topping. So I think it's a matter of we need to advertise this more and let people know that they do need to contact us and that we do need to have a look at it, not to change it and not to engineer it, but to look at how it meets our road. Steve, is that not where the issue is?
Yeah, that's what it says in the permit. And if it's sloped the proper way, there's no permit required. We just go and look, but if it's sloped towards the road, we're trying to stop the runoff of the ice and
But why would they need a professional?
Yeah, and that's exactly what Steve said at the meeting. If it's sloped away from the road, it doesn't apply, which is our property.
Okay,
And
so
so,
you don't need a permit.
well, that's what we thought, but we were told when we left the meeting that we still needed one.
Yes. we
That's,
agree.
that's the issue.
Is
None
the-
of the conditions that were mentioned in the meeting apply, but we were still told.
But you're still on private property and that a township does not do any work on private property. The majority of your
Then-
driveway and what you were doing, you said was on private property. So
All of the
there's no-
driveway is on private.
That's right. So we don't have any, more Steve was concerned with the, you know, to do with the road. Whether it's
Well, then I'm
Matthew
puzzled
Street-
as to why we were told we need a permit.
Well, I think the application and getting the permit is so we are aware that you're having it done and can advise you. It's the way to get you into that.
So that
spot.
will be standard practice now for all driveways?
I think it should be. If we have it in the bylaw, it should
Well,
be.
I guess that's why we're here. If
Yes.
that's going to happen and it's going to put a new workload on
Yeah.
staff and a new perhaps level of technical or other engineering experience that they may or may not possess.
Well, they're not.
I think
going
those
to-
are things worthy of council's
They're
discussion.
not engineering it. They're simply looking at how it's going to attach to our road.
The driveway has been attached to the road since probably
The
1950,
gravel has.
and that's all that's there right now, yes.
But when you pave, we want to see how you're going to attach that pavement.
And before
road.
ours, was this done before or often or in
Ever,
ever?
You know how many bylaws we have on the book? Like.
No, I'm just wondering, all of a sudden,
this has
happened.
become
I
very
think
important.
it's Maybe because of the angle of your property and being at the beach, it's very noticeable.
Well, I think, you know, a lot of
but again,
calls and questions have come into the CAO in the office from other parties, and that's maybe created a level of interest.
Yeah, and I have not spoken to the neighbors at all recently.
Mm.
They have not contacted us.
but
Anyway,
again, we're talking about slopes and stuff. And as the permit was read to us, as if it drains water onto, in this case, it would either be Matthew Street or it's impossible for it to go on basically Medical Center Road. So
Right.
we continue to be confused by
so
why we need a permit, et cetera, especially when it was explained in the beginning that on private property, it would be a professional engineer.
Yeah, it
That
was
would
very
look at
emphatic that
both.
we do not interfere on private property.
Steve, can you help us here? Where is the application, or is there an application now? Is it approved? Can they go ahead and do what they want to do?
Take my hat off. Through you, Madam Mayor, they haven't filled out an application yet. And the application, we would just keep track in case there was ever anything to come up to say that they didn't get a permit for their driveway, which they would just fill paperwork out and it'd be a permit. There's no cost because it's sloped the right way. They would just have something on file saying that they did get a permit for their driveway.
Okay, and we haven't been issuing a lot of these because people don't know unless we stop them and say, by the way, you need a permit.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yeah, that's correct. And some of them get done on weekends, some of them get done, you know, they're done when I get home. I'm on my way home, they're done, so.
Yeah.
So why are we the test case?
I'm not sure, I guess.
Yeah, that's
because-
our big
because
question.
the
Like, there've been a
calls came
lot
in.
of calls that came in and
Built up area, maybe more so, Susan?
Through Madam Mayor, and thank you for your presentation. You were obviously a very good teacher. May I suggest, because I don't know the wording of that bylaw, so I'm not really comfortable commenting on it, but that it be brought to council at a future meeting for review.
And it is fairly old.
so it was in effect last year when the CAO had her driveway paved, right? I'm
Yes.
just saying, it hasn't been applied and it feels like,
She did it on a weekend too.
I wasn't even told. Yeah, actually, I think they're doing review of the bylaw now. Are you not, Amanda? Because I do
yeah,
with
I
the public
expect
works,
that's been
so.
triggered, yes.
Lynn,
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Have we ever had somebody get a permit for their driveway yet? I'm seeing a nod, yes?
We have, yes.
Okay,
yeah.
so
We
it's
just
not.
Recently
this
got one
would be the
today.
first
so.
one. Okay.
Nikki,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So going back to your first comment, you said that communication we haven't communicated this to the public? Because obviously I paved my driveway last year and I didn't get a permit and I'm on 38 highway as well. So I feel I've done wrong by not getting a permit. So I think that even though it's under review, we still need to put this out there because we don't want any resident to feel that they've been misguided or that they feel this way. So I think that we need to do some type of education that this needs to take place because it is the paving season and many people are going to get their driveway paved.
And if the township does give an approval to a permit, I assume they're absorbing any liability if the neighbors don't like how the driveway is paved?
I don't have you have the bylaw there in front of you guys.
To you, Madam Mayor, the slope of the driveway, that's on your property. And if you slope the water towards your neighbor, that's between you and your neighbor. We're worried about the water going on the road. What you do in your own driveway is what you do. We're worried about what comes on the road.
Sorry, it's the slope from your property to our property, not the slope from you to the
Which is an
neighbors.
away slope,
Yeah.
yes.
So again, it's where they meet.
And I'm still a little bit just puzzled by the permit thing itself. When we had spoken, or actually I should say my wife spoke originally with the CAO, knew nothing of permits or anything. That was all through.
Emphatic.
Yeah.
That none was required.
But again, it's
The amount of bylaws that we do have, it's correct. But no, I was not aware that we had a bylaw for that. I'm honest. I
Yeah.
said that. I didn't know. I talked with Amanda and certainly Steve. That's their department. So they're much more up on it than I am. So when they said that there was, I was just as well, didn't understand that there was one. Same as Nikki. We went ahead and plot. We didn't know that we needed a permit at that time. And I want to clarify when you mentioned about it being in not to drain water onto somebody else's property. It is not under the Municipal Act. It was under the Drainage Act that I gave you. Okay?
Oh,
Yeah.
you referenced the Municipal Act.
Yeah,
Perhaps what
but
you
then
handed
it
me
was,
the
yes, but
Drainage
it was the
Act.
Drainage
Okay,
Act.
Cindy wants to say something and then we're going to call this
Yeah.
to an end.
Okay, so usually a permit, this is what I understand, was always for new driveways, not for pre-existing, but it's for pre-existing then too in the bylaw?
Yes.
And you're changing it from gravel to which the water goes down through to pavement which the water runs faster off. And that it's the right slope. Steve.
To you, Madam Mayor, anytime that they alter their entrance, they need a permit. It says right on the top of our permit, anytime you alter your entrance, you need a permit. If you want to widen your entrance, you need a permit.
Okay.
Even though it's been there and it's been 30 feet wide and you want to do 40, you need a permit.
Even though there's no prescribed driveway width in the township, to my understanding. I asked that question and I was told, no, there's no prescribed driveway width.
The roads department know the road stuff more than us. Nikki, and then last,
Okay, thank you. 'Cause
Comment.
So anybody that didn't get a permit since 2021, are they going to be in a violation that they didn't get a permit and have it checked, that they need to come back to the township and have it checked?
Steve, that's a question. Do you want everybody who's got a paved driveway to come in and get an application?
To you, Madam Mayor, it's up to council.
Okay. I'm glad I live in the woods. But I do believe bringing this to our attention now, and certainly the joys of technology, people will be listening to this and we will be getting more and more applications. There's no cost to it. It's time to fill out the application and we're there to try and help people, not to put a block in front of them from getting it done.
Just as a finer point though, sorry to interrupt, you're also getting into a gray area where it was already mentioned about engineering and stuff with slopes and all the rest of this stuff. You apparently don't have engineers on staff and stuff, so you are creating a real gray area here as well. And that was one of the points
And-
we
and
did mention
We do appreciate getting the bylaw. Would have been helpful before the meeting when we requested it a couple of weeks ago, but
3 weeks ago.
but it's good to have it now.
Okay, thank
Thank
you
you.
for bringing it to us. And we
Thank you for
have,
hearing us.
thank you. We have a motion moved by Bill McDonald, seconded by Bill Everett, that council received the presentation from Rhonda Kimberly Young regarding paving laneways on private property for information. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, now we have Terry Kennedy, Friends of Arden, and Paul Rudjick from the Royal Canadian Legion.
This is Paul.
This is Paul. Zodiac. Oh, it's Lucy. Lucy's not on my list, but come on over. From branch 334.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome, folks.
Thank you.
Just pull that microphone right close to you.
And it's on, I believe, yes.
It is.
Madam Mayor, thank you. And so you have already heard who my colleague is here to my left. We're delighted that Lucy Couillette is here. Paul, being a much younger fellow, is not than Lucy, younger than me. He's still working and is racing as we speak to get back into the community, but he couldn't make it on time. Paul is the current president of Royal Canadian Legion Branch 334, the Gordon Gaylord branch in Arden. Lucy, his wife, is the treasurer there and member of their executive. And the two of them have done great things in terms of the life that has been breathed back into that part of our community. So I'm delighted that she's here with me. We hope that what we're bringing to you tonight is a good news story and shouldn't cause you any of the angst that any other items on the agenda appear to be bringing. But we're here with a proposal that we hope that you would consent to and grant your approval as property owners for a segment of our community that we're hoping to tackle together. We've had a number of good improvements to a part of our community in terms of where the cenotaph is located and the township property with the community hall adjacent to the cenotaph. And thanks to you folks for helping us with that, and the Recreation Committee in Kennebec District for putting a lot of improvements into place. But we've collaborated, the Legion and the Friends of Arden, for several years now. Whereas the township are the owners of the property, traditionally the Legion have taken the lead in maintaining that segment of the property and shepherded it to carry on in a manner that is respectful for those for whom it was meant to honor. And the Friends of Arden have been happy to work with the Legion people each year in part of a cleanup and community maintenance endeavor to paint the fence and generally clean it up and so on. But over the last few years, there's been some dismay that the fence has been rotting away before our very eyes. And last year, the Legion folks had to remove the eastern portion of the fence because it was really sagging out of existence. When we looked at it just a few days ago again, the wood is rotting, and we used to paint it yearly, and it's pointless to do that anymore. So the proposal has come forward that, having looked at the improvements taking place, thanks to the Recreation Committee and Council for the work that's gone on inside the hall, it looks terrific now, been repainted, pictures repositioned, and a lot of redesigning. The sports center is in place at the southeast corner of that property, adjacent to the rink. And things are there, and we're all very much appreciative of the changes and proud of what's been taking place. We would like to propose that the cenotaph be brought into line with those kinds of improvements and be consistent in terms of receiving some good, strong care and attention. Our two organizations agreed a week or so ago that we would tackle this as partners, and to do so that we would like to undertake a fundraising campaign and see if we can bring it up to snuff. We have a history of working together, our two organizations. the Friends of Arden were happy to contribute financially to Legion projects over the last 5 to 10 years. And the Legion in turn has given us a meeting space and generally been supportive of things that we've tried to do. We've worked together in the Cenotaph area with the Legion supplying the materials, and the Friends of Arden have been the arms and legs to paint the fence and generally clean it up. You as a council, of course, have been providing the contractors to keep the grass trimmed and so on. So things have been pretty consistently a good community cooperative venture. We'd like to carry on doing this. And to this end, we would like to come to you folks and say, we'd like to put 3 aspects in front of you. One is that we'd like your approval to undertake this, you as the property owners and partners in the Cenotaph care itself. We'd like you to consider at some point if you could say you see your way clear to being part of fundraising, that would be terrific, but we're not asking that at this point. We have been quite intrigued in seeing if council would approve having township staff manage the financial end of it. And quite frankly, we see some advantages there. We get some high quality financial managers, but we also then can recognize people who choose to contribute in ways other than physically working on the property, but contribute financially and do that through the township. And we'd like to say, hey, thank you very much, and see if we can have a way to have those people get a receipt that they can make good use of come next year's tax time. So after we talked with the Legion folks, and the membership were awfully good and approved that wholeheartedly. And we've got 2 additional members of the Legion here with us, Byron and Charmaine behind us. So there's good support from good elements in our community. We're really pleased with the cooperative efforts that have been in place over the years, and we see this as being a strong endeavor to get all the various parts, the groups in the community to work on this and have it restored to being as respectful a location as it could be and as it should be. Once we get your approval, we would look to form a little planning committee. We can't give you a good open answer about how much money are we talking, because we don't know we have some things we think should be looked at. The proposition has been put before us that we have a couple of little short road trips and go and look at what some other places who feel proud about what they've been able to do and say what we can accomplish. There's been a question about the flagpoles, and I know Councillor Klages has talked with your staff about what's involved with flagpoles. That we don't know. We'd like to look at that and see what's possible, how much our sort of first priority needs. There used to be benches there, for example, and those gradually deteriorated and had to be removed. So there are various things we'd like to do that could be part of just landscaping and sculpting, that could be part of physical improvements such as fencing. And if it's refenced, what kind of a fence? Do you need a fence at all? And those kinds of questions. If the flagpoles should be replaced, what's available, what is the best way to do it? How can we work together? I know there's been some preliminary discussion with what role township staff might be prepared to play in terms of helping with care and assisting in that corner of the property as well. So we have already informing a little planning group. We already have 6 people from the Friends of Arden who have said, hey, yes, we'd like to be part of a little planning group. And the next step, the very next step would be to ask through Lucy and Paul if there are others who might be interested more from the Legion end to say, okay, how can we go about saying what things do we need to do and what would we like to do? We know that Byron behind us is interested in this as well. So
Have you approached the recreation committee for some of their younger folks, like
yes.
students and young legs?
Madam Mayor, that's a very consistent activity. Yep, it's the problem that so many of our community groups face in terms of people gradually aging out and aging through, and looking at attracting people to get more involved in the activities. Certainly my colleague to my left here, that's what they have done in the Legion, and to good results, if I may say.
So Terry, I have a motion here, and the motion is moved by Dan Meeks and seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that council received the presentation from the Friends of Arden and the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 334 regarding the proposed Arden Cenotaph Renewal Project. Is it 334?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And that council support the Arden Cenotaph Renewal Project and associated community fundraising campaign in principle. And I think your ask is that our treasury look at receiving the funds and be able to give a income tax receipt for that charitable donation.
Yep.
So we'll ask Michael if there's anything that he needs from you in order for that to happen. If there's a problem, it can probably go through the rec committee. It's what I was thinking when I suggested you get them on board. Okay, Lynn.
Can I add to that at the point where they come together with their plan of what they want to accomplish, that we come back in and have a discussion at council to see if we want to help financially from the township and with the project, but they need to get the scope of it defined first.
Yes, and they probably should do that before the end of August. Well, there's this council around the table.
I believe their time schedule is on the report, and that would be happening like that.
All
Yes.
right. So this is just step one, but you've got us. Maybe we'll call the vote. All those in favor? There you go. It's unanimous. Carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And Madam Mayor, if you would indulge one last comment too. When we met with the Legion and the Friends of Arden together, the suggestion was made, hey, we have in our cenotaphs World War I, World War II, and Korean War. And yet we have another conflict in which there were Canadians involved and Canadians killed and injured, and that was Afghanistan.
Yes.
And we would have to work back through the Legion folks and say, what kind of process is involved in that sort of endeavor, and how can we be sure we're as inclusive of the conflicts as we should be?
True. Dan has something to mention.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I just want to say, recently we've been doing some upgrades to our cenotaph in Mountain Grove, and we kind of got community involvement there. So what we did was anybody that donated, we're actually putting in a nameplate. We've replaced 4 benches now, and we're also getting help with the guns for scraping and repainting through the high school. Every kid in the high school needs community hours, so we're putting them to work too as well.
And Madam Mayor, having driven as recently as yesterday past the Mountain Grove cenotaph, I can appreciate that it is a very fine looking piece of work, and that would be a very close field trip, but we'll look at some
It
further
looks
ones
nice.
too.
Dan has pictures. Okay, thank you very much. All right. We are now going to have a public meeting. And I have some opening remarks here that I have to say. Council will now enter into a public meeting to discuss 5 applications for the closure of municipal road allowances held under the authority of Section 34, 1.1 of the Municipal Act, 2001. Notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with the requirement of the Act. The meeting will proceed as follows. Abigail McKinnon, Planning Coordinator, will present an overview of each application. Following each presentation, members of the public will have an opportunity to speak either in support or in opposition to the proposed road allowance closure. Before asking a question or making a statement, please clearly state your name and address for the record so it may be noted by the clerk. I will now turn it over to Abby McKinnon, Planning Coordinator, who will provide an overview of the first and second applications.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So the first application is for 1262 and 1280 Blue Heron Ridge, and that is in the geographic township of Kennebec in the township of Central Frontenac. And this request, or these requests, I shall say, are for the stopping up and closure of 2 portions of unopened road allowance adjacent to these properties. Council previously considered these applications and supported proceeding in principle with the road allowance closure and sale process. The notice of the public meeting was provided in accordance with the township requirements and applicable, and the applications were circulated to the adjacent property owners and utility providers and external agencies like the Conservation Authority for review and comments. And as of the date of writing the reports and preparing these presentations, there were no comments. And the public purpose of the public meeting today is to provide members of the public with an opportunity to comment and for council to determine whether to proceed further with the closure and sale process. And I will turn it back over to council. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any comments from members of the public regarding this application? Is there anyone online who would like to speak to this application? Okay. Are there any questions or comments from council? Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Thank you. The next application is a request for the exact same thing, a closure and sale of an unopened road allowance between Ramo Road and the Canadian Pacific Rail Corridor. The proposed request is intended to provide frontage on Ramo Road to facilitate future access opportunities to the adjacent lands that are intended to receive the road allowance as a lot addition if approved. Council previously considered these applications and supported a proceeding in principle with the road allowance closure and sale process. And notice of the public meeting was provided in accordance with the township's requirements, and the application was circulated to the township departments, agencies, and utility providers as required. And as of the date of writing the report and preparing this presentation, no comments have been received, and subject to any comments that are heard today at council, that we are asking for direction on whether to proceed further with the process. And I'll now turn it back over to council. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any comments from the public regarding this application? Nobody's online. Are there any questions or comments from council? Okay, let's move on to number 4. Number
Thank
4.
You. This next application is for the closure of 2 small portions of unopened road allowance located near Leggett Lake on Williams Lane, or off of Williams Lane, I should say. The proposed request is to facilitate a lot addition to the adjoining property. This application was previously supported in principle by council to proceed
Abby,
with the
are we on the right
process.
one?
Oh, sorry.
Gibbs. There it is. There it is.
Okay, sorry. My
It's a different order.
version was in a different order. My apologies. So this request is for the closure of Gibbs Road. This request originated from concerns related to emergency response access after emergency services were directed onto Gibbs Road by navigation systems during a medical call. Staff understand that surrounding properties no longer rely on Gibbs Road for legal or physical access, and that the proposed closure would help eliminate future confusion caused by continued appearance on road mapping systems. Notice of was provided in accordance with the township's requirements, and the proposal was circulated to adjacent property owners, agencies, and utility providers as required. As of the date of writing this report and preparing the presentation, no comments, objections, or concerns have been received. And that the purpose of this public meeting is to provide the public with an opportunity to submit comments, and I will turn it back over to council. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any comments from any member of the public regarding this application?
No.
Are there any questions or comments from council? Okay. Now we are at the Hinchinbrook one.
Thank you. The next application is a request to close 2 small portions of unopened road allowance located near Leggett Lake off of Williams Lane. The purpose of the request is to facilitate lot addition to the adjoining property. Council previously considered these applications this application and supported proceeding with the road allowance closure and sale process in principle. Notice of this application or notice of this public meeting was provided in accordance with the township requirements, and the application was circulated to the adjacent property owners, agencies, and utility providers for review. As of the date of writing the report and preparing this presentation, no comments or objections have been received. And the purpose of the public meeting is to provide the public with an opportunity to submit comments about this closure. And it's over to you, council. Thank you.
Okay. Any comments from the members of the public regarding this application? Any questions or comments from council? All right. Seeing no further comments, the public meeting is now closed at 7:06 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay. Resolution for public meetings. Moved by Bill Everett, second by Nikki Gowdy, that council received the Blue Heron Ridge report prepared by the planning coordinator for information, and that council acknowledged that no comments have been received as of the date of this report and authorized. Do I have to do this for everyone? Abigail, we couldn't have just put them together. Okay. And that council receive and consider all public comments heard in the meeting and any written comments received by June 30th, 2026 at a future council meeting, and that council authorize staff to continue with the process for the closure of part of unopened road allowance between concession 7 lot 19 geographic township of Kennebec being part of PIN 36168-0054, subject to consideration of any comments received, and that staff be authorized to prepare the required survey, appraisal, transfer documents, and bylaws in accordance with the township's road closing and sale policy, with all costs borne by the applicant. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that council received the Williams report prepared by the planning coordinator, and that council acknowledged that no comments have been received as of the date of the report, and direct staff to continue accepting comments until June 30th, 2026, and that council receive and consider all public comments heard at the public meeting, any written comments received by June 30th, 2026, and that council authorize staff to continue with the closure of the unopened road allowance being part of PIN 36225-517 and PIN 36225-0518, located in front of lands municipally known as 1441 Williams Lane and forming part of the road allowance near the shore of Leggett Lake, subject to consideration of any comments received, and that staff be authorized to prepare the required survey, appraisal, transfer documents, and bylaws in accordance with the township's road closing and sale policy, with all associated costs borne by the applicant. All those in favor? Okay. Moved by Bill McDonald, seconded by Dan Meeks, that council received the Gibbs Road report prepared by planning coordinator, that council and that council acknowledges that no comments have been received as of the date of this report and direct staff to continue accepting comments following the public meeting for a further 5 days or until June 30th, 2026, and that council receive and consider all public comments heard at the public meeting and any written comments received by June 30th, 2026, and that council authorize staff to continue with the closure of Gibbs Road subject to consideration of any comments received. And the staff be authorized to prepare the required survey, appraisal, transfer documents, and bylaws in accordance with the township road closing and sale policy with all associated costs borne by the township. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Lynn Clagus, that council received the Rustron report prepared by the planning coordinator for information, and that council acknowledged that no comments have been received as of the date of the report and direct staff to continue accepting comments following the public meeting for a further 5 days until June 30th, 2026. And the council receive and consider all public comments heard at the public meeting and any written comments received by June 30th, 2026. And the council authorized staff to continue with the closure of part of the on-open road allowance between concession 4 and 5, lot 20, geographic township of Hinchinbrook, pin 36156-0202, subject to consideration of any comments received, and the staff be authorized to prepare the required survey, appraisal, transfer documents, and bylaws in accordance with the township's road closing and sale policy with all associated costs borne by the applicant. All those in favor? Carried. I've only got a few more months to go. So close them all now. You just took my voice away. Consent agenda, moved by Bill Everett, seconded by Susan Irwin, that council receives items A through D for information as they're considered routine. All those in favor? Carried. All right. Deferred items, there aren't any. Staff reports, building activity reports. Moved by Bill McDonald, seconded by Philip Smith, that council received the construction detail report, May 2026 for information. There's nobody to ask any questions to, so all those in favor? Carried. Okay, Public Works, we do have Steve and Amanda here. Moved by Lynn Clagus, seconded by Bill Everett, that council received the May and June Public Works activity report as prepared by the Public Works Technical Assistant for information. Questions or comments to Steve? Bill, and then Philip, did you have your hand up too?
A little later, but yes.
Okay, Nikki and then Philip, you're going to be third. You go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Steve. Steve, I saw your activity and no problem. I think you're working hard. But I was on the Wagner Road the other day, and I'm just wondering if you could give me any idea as to what the plans are for that particular road. I did some research, and I looked up the average daily traffic on that road. It's about 124 cars a day, which is probably greater than a lot of our other roads. But in the condition it's in right now, it's almost impossible to, you probably couldn't drive more than 30 kilometers an hour on that particular road, but can you give me any idea of what the plans might be for that? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
To you, Madam Mayor. It is rough. I've drove down that road. They were down there today trying to fix it. I've had it in the budget a couple years now and it's been taken out. I think now we're at the point where we should probably pulverize it and make it gravel. And at least I could keep it, smoother, and it's until we decide we want to put another double surface on it, I think we should make it gravel.
So why don't we do that? I know Zealand Road was in the same kind of problem. And once the road was down to gravel and we started to grade and keep they had holes that would just swallow your car. So I think the same thing there. The road probably wasn't prepared properly when they put the hard top down. So it's not staying.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to relate that I was down there with a trailer on and I almost lost my tractor, and coming back, I actually went out to Clement Road because of the condition of the road. And I think we need to do something. If grinding it up and putting down some new material will work, I'm totally in favor of that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
if we can get it done within the budget. Nikki,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to start off with a compliment. I received a call today about Dawson in the roadside mower and how he's doing a phenomenal job and the time slow, how slow he went and everything. So I want to send a compliment out to Dawson on that. The Titchburn crossing, wow. Great improvement. It's not perfect, but it is a huge improvement, the work that CP Rail did. And I did pass along a thank you note that you were included on. My questions, the domes out my way, is the roof intended to get put on the temporary dome? And where are we at with the RFP on the other dome? Do you want to answer those? Okay.
Through you, Madam Mayor. There was a couple days, I think it was last week, it was windy. He was supposed to show up and he had other jobs he was doing. So I'm hoping at the end of this week or first of next week, he'll be able to put the tarp on it. I think he has a couple more braces to put on and then the tarp will be ready there. The RFP closed today at noon. So we had 3 bidders on it. So we're going through, we have to do the Buy Ontario Act and we have to figure out all that yet. But it closed today. We had 3 bidders on the new proposed dome. So.
Okay. Don't you take that mic off. Do we have any update from Cambian yet on a report on the Olden waste site?
To you, Madam Mayor. Not right now, we don't, but I'll have follow up tomorrow with them.
Okay. The Charlotte Lake Village project, we're halfway through the year. We have to spend the money by the end of this year. We lose it. Do you have an update on that?
To you, Madam Mayor. It closes next week. So hopefully we'll find out then what we're gonna do, but yeah, next week we'll know more.
Okay. And my last question actually is for,
you're almost over your 2.
okay, I'm sorry. Well, I could have put them all in one, but he told me, whoa. My last one is about if there was a lot of questions over our neighbors paving of their parking lot. And I had asked Kathy if she could just make a comment about that, please, and thank you.
Yes, actually, it, because I think perceptions out there that the township owns that parking lot, but we do not. It was the Robinsons that paved it. So it's not ours.
So I want to follow up on the salt dome. So if they're closing and we award a contract, will we be able to put sand in it this winter?
To you, Madam Mayor. The completion date is November 1st, so it'll be a little bit later, but we should still be able to get sand in November 1st. But I'll probably put a bit in the small one to start, just in case.
And then I had another question about the Eagle Lake Road, the surfacing of the rest of the hill. And then are we in possession of our new used grader?
To you, Madam Mayor. The supervisor has called a couple paving companies to give a couple quotes, and we need to fix the spot by York Road, still do a little bit more there. So he's going to quote that and that at the same time. And the new used grader, we've been using it for quite a while now. So.
Okay, through you, Madam Mayor, to Steve. I'm just wondering, I'm getting a lot of people complain about Brock Road. Are there any plans for it to be fixed when they do the Mountain Grove Road? Oh, sorry.
To you, Madam Mayor. I was going to bring it later, but hopefully I can negotiate with the contractor and get the worst part of Brock Road done, which is around to the track bed. So because it came in so low, and if we have enough to do that, maybe we can go a little farther on the Mount Grove Long Lake Road too. So we'll see what we can do with that now that we know unit prices. So.
Carried. Sorry. All those in favor of the information report carried. Okay, moved by Cindy Kelsey, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that council received the report RFT PW 2026-11, resurfacing Mountain Grove Road tender recommendation. The tender was released on May 19th, 2026 and closed on June the 11th, 2026. And that 3 bids were received. The Public Works Manager has reviewed the bids and has evaluated according to the criteria outlined in the tender, including the new Buy Ontario requirements, and is recommending Gemmell Sand and Gravel as the successful contractor. Now therefore be it resolved that council award Gemmell Sand and Gravel as the successful bidder in the amount of $479,996.25, excluding HST, and that Public Works Manager be authorized to issue a purchase order for the work, and further that the mayor and CO clerk be authorized to sign the contract documents. Any discussion? Susan?
Through Madam Mayor, and thank you to Steve for confirming the budgeted amount for the work on Mountain Grove Road, which is 700,000. So I now understand why you could afford to look at negotiating an extension to Rock Road and Long Lake Road. So well done.
Yes, it's good to know what we thought it was going to be, right? Dan?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I just wonder, can we utilize all that amount, 700,000, whether we do, you know, if we have stuff left over from Rock Road, actually continue with Long Lake Road? For that same amount that we've set aside?
Or are there other places?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'll bring that to council and let them know how far we can go on Brock, which I want to do that roughest part. I hope we can. I'm pretty sure we can. And whatever I have left, I'll see how far much we can get on the Long Lake Road, and I guess council will say yea or nay.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. All right, that is it. We're at fire. So moved by Bill Everett, second by Philip Smith, that council receive the Central Frontenac Fire Rescue Activity Report dated June 23rd, 2026, as prepared by the Fire Service Department. Hello, Chris, up there.
Good evening, Council. Mayor, how are you?
Good, good.
Good.
Any questions for Chris? Seeing no questions, all those in favor? Carried.
Very well. Okay.
That was the fastest one yet.
You're welcome. Okay.
All right, now we have Mr. Michael. Moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Bill McDonald, that council received the accounts payable report, check distribution in the amount of $687,806.19 as prepared by the Manager of Financial Services for information. Any question on any of that? All in favor? Carried. Moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that council receives the report prepared by the Manager of Financial Services entitled Budget Policy - Election and Non-Election Years, and that council approves the budget policy, election and non-election years. Any discussion? Anything you'd like to say to us, Michael?
I think the policy is good. I'm looking forward to following a standard timeline.
Okay. All right. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Lynn Clegg, seconded by Philip Smith, that council receive the report on the tax sale that was conducted June 4th, 2026 for information, and that council approve the treasurer to write off taxes on roll number 1039 080 040 04800 zeros of $4,016.41 as per the chart below, and vest the property into the ownership of the township.
So if I may make
Speak to that.
if I may, Madam Mayor, I came to that recommendation to council after speaking with the Public Works Manager. It's the property just after the last house going over the causeway on the right, and we own the next two to it. So it may be advantageous for trail parking lot or whatever at some point. So that's why I'm making that recommendation. Otherwise, to remind council and some of the new ones, because I don't think we've done a failed tax sale in a while, is that we do have that option to offer the property out at no minimum tender, and which we just write off less than have taxes coming in. So it's just another option, but I felt that this recommendation was the better way to go.
Okay. Lynn.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I have one question. If we own the two properties beside it, putting this one with those two, how much land would it encompass?
Off the top of my head, through Madam Mayor to Councillor Clagus, I'm not 100% certain, but it may be an acre lengthwise. I have to double check and I can let you know.
Where is it again, Michael?
When you go over the causeway, you turn right. Charlene Godfrey used to live in that one house.
The causeway right here.
I say the causeway, yeah. So going down to Charlotte Lake.
Right.
Charlene Godfrey lived in that one house. Just right after that, there's a little chunk, and then there's two other chunks that we own as well. I think that's belongs to that property.
A little
And
bit
then
of
ours
swa-
will start right after that, going south.
Yeah, okay. All right, all those in favor? Carried. Moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Bill McDonald, that council receive the financial software replacement report as prepared by the manager of financial services, and that council authorize the manager of financial services and CEO clerk to sign a contract with Munisoft for the implementation of their financial software in 2027, and that the estimated cost of $159,000 be included in the 2027 budget. Philip and then Bill.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to ask if the new software replaces all the features of Diamond, because was it Diamond? Citywide?
Citywide.
Are they two separate softwares? I
They
guess?
are. Diamond, if I may, through my mayor, Councillor Smith, Diamond is the financial software that we use. Citywide does our assets, our budgeting, and the FMW is the other name you would have heard.
Okay, so then
in
I've
relation to that.
I've in my mind combined them because I was thinking we needed something still for permitting and the septic reinspection, if that's what they were going to use.
No,
for
Citywide
all
will
that.
remain.
Okay.
It's such a wonderful software, very user friendly, not looking to replace Citywide or FMW. They give such, again, the efficiencies that I've achieved. We have achieved going through for council and department heads putting in budget and going through that. There's no way that I would ever want to leave those efficiencies. So no, Munisoft would just replace Diamond, but would you like to finish, Councillor Smith?
No, because they all reflected around those. So
Okay,
I'm
so
fine.
So if I may take this opportunity, Madam Mayor, council may recall me saying at the budget meeting that in 2026, I wanted to put $150,000 aside for the financial software. And since there's always balancing, gave council a heads up that it may be $300,000 in 2027. So this is a pleasant surprise to bring this in. We are kind of going back to rolling the windows down, but it does simply what we need at an affordable price within our means, being a small municipality. So that is why we're looking at this and recommending that to council tonight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Michael, I just have a couple of questions. Number one.
Your mic's not on.
Oh, first time. My question through the mayor to Michael is 2-point. Number one, did this quote include tax? And number two, about security, does this program actually come with a certain amount of security involved? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Through Madam Mayor, Councillor McDonald, the HST net cost, which is not included in there, would be about $2,800. So obviously it'd be about 20 plus, and we get 86% of that back. In terms of security, I talked to the county IT gentleman, and he said Munisoft would be hosted in our Microsoft 365 tenant, the same place as our email. It's secured with multi-factor authentication, same security measures. And is it hack proof? Nothing is that touches the internet. So it's as secure as it can be.
Good. Good. Important point. Susan.
Through Madam Mayor to Michael, just looking at your report, you listed some other companies as comparisons. And there's just one sentence that I want to ask you about. So Business Central and thank you, is a web-based product that would undoubtedly meet all of our needs now and in the future. I recognize you say that it's not as user-friendly and so forth. Would the Munisoft meet our needs now and in the future?
Through Madam Mayor, Councillor Irwin, I appreciate the question. Yes, I think it will. That was part of the reason we went to the town of Marrickville, and I appreciate Kirsten and her finance team running us through the daily things and what they do. They've used it for 28 years. They've been in business obviously for 41. I do believe that it will continue. In looking at Sylogist and going through, it is a more complex system and it is a higher level system. I just think it's more than what we need. So for 10 years, we've used Diamond now. There are items on there that we've not even looked at. And I think that a Diamond has been good, the drill down capabilities and many other things, but it's more than what we need. And that's where, again, going back to Munisoft, and if I can comment on the support so far that we've received, has been the way I used to get support from Assist a long time ago, where it was within that day, within the hours, and Endeavor has been great as well. We've been using them to support the lack of support we've received from Diamond, and they've been good. But yeah, I think it will. Honestly, it's just, yeah, it's a Munisoft or Sylogist is a more complex system that is hosted online. So we're just simply paying for a server.
Okay. How do we want to do this? All those in favor? Carried. It's a lot of money, and you know, you think about $150,000, 160,000, but nowadays with the computer world, it's nothing.
And it's not, Madam Mayor, and I'm pleasantly surprised again with the price. And as the Deputy Treasurer knows, you go back and forth, you look at everything, see if it's going to meet everything you need. And it was definitely it's been stressful over the last little bit, trying to figure out what's the right answer for us
Sure.
moving forward and for the township and what's affordable.
Well, you've done the research. All right, bylaw enforcement, moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Philip Smith. The council received the June 2026 bylaw enforcement and education activity report as prepared by the bylaw enforcement officer for information. All those in favor? Carried. No questions. Moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Lynn Klegas, that council received the June 2026 administration updated as prepared by the deputy clerk for information. Discussion. Lynn.
Yes, I have a couple of questions. I don't see any further update to the draft noise bylaw. We had the feedback complete and it said it was coming for consideration and approval. When is that going to happen?
I'll have Jody answer that because she prepared the lovely report.
Like it? I believe it will most likely be on the next council. Yeah.
And just
And likewise, the Beaver bylaw was with legal in May. And where is that one now?
I actually received a copy of that back. What was it, Kathy? Friday?
Yeah, just recently.
Just on Friday. So it'll be at the next meeting as well.
Thank you.
all those in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay. Here it is.
Yeah.
Moved by Bill McDonald, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that council authorize the mayor and CO clerk to execute the 5th license extension and amending agreement between the Township of Central Frontenac and His Majesty the King in right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure for the continued use of space at 1107 Garrett Street, Charlotte Lake for provincial offenses court operations. For the hall. Susan?
Through Madam Mayor, just a question about it's 2,274 square feet. I just wondered if in looking at this license renewal, if we looked at the square footage that we'd need for
Kitchen.
the renovations to the kitchen.
And it's not, they didn't have exclusive use either in there. So I think it's up to us as to how much. And who knows if they're even going to come back into, we don't know that, but they still wanted to continue with this lease. So.
Okay. Philip and then Dan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I noted it's $190 per day and includes the setup and takedown of the courtroom. Is that something staff does, or is that something we're already paying the contractor to do when they're setting up the hall?
I can't remember who actually, I don't know if it was any of our staff or, because I know the OPP are always up there when the court and helping, but so I can't answer that question. Bill Young may know.
I think Harry used to pull out the stuff for the judge.
It's good. It's got to come out of the wall for the judges, seat up on top of the stage. So I imagine maybe he's done it, or maybe Bill would do it.
Yeah, I would think that we pull out the furniture.
Was it facilities? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dan.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I just wondered, did anybody ever meet with the courts at all at the hall, or
No.
nobody ever?
It's-
met?
No, they never.
But they do everything through Zoom or whatever platform
They
they
just
use.
contacted Jody here just recently when we got this back, wasn't it? So, but
Yeah.
no, nothing in person.
So
Right.
we still,
That back room too as well, that we could probably,
yeah,
it's not really full back there at all.
it'd be nice if we could actually get to speak to somebody about it, but we'll work on that. Lynn.
Yeah.
I'm just back to Phil's point. If we get paid $190 per day that they come, does that even cover the cost of our staff coming out, setting up, and then our staff taking it down at the end of it? Like, is that money? I know they haven't been utilizing it, but if they were to utilize it, does that even cover our own costs?
I'm not so sure we can negotiate with them. This is what they typically pay, and I don't know if they've even increased it over the time.
No, I think that it's the same cost all along. And yeah, we don't,
Shouldn't that have been part of the conversation to, all costs have gone up over the years. Why is that not gone?
they set the
changed?
fees and not one person, they did not call us to even have a discussion. We've been waiting and kept contacting them between Jody, myself, and even Michael, but there's been they just sent back the fees, the month they're
So
gonna pay.
what if
Bill.
we increase the fee and say, here's our offer to renew if you're interested?
We can, but do we want to lose them? Because this is money that we rent out that hall on the days that they would have been using it. So we're kind of double dipping in some instances. They're not saying we can't use the hall on the third Wednesdays of every month, which is when they held court. So we do utilize it and get rent from it. Bill?
And also, the fact of the matter is it's a service within the community where people are actually going to court there over the year rather than having to drive to Kingston or
Yeah,
somewhere.
true.
So,
Vicky?
I agree that the staff did the best they could because it is hard to get somebody there. But in the future, maybe we look at in the contract that we add the cost of living increase every year. So, you know, it's 190 this year, but say cost of living's 2%, you're going to add another $38 or whatever it is for each year. So going forward in the next extension, negotiate those into.
If, what is it, a 1 year or is it a 5 year?
No, they're 5-year contracts. They do them. That's right.
Somebody else will have to negotiate it. And they may come back and start using it again, and then we'll have a body that we can negotiate with. Yeah. Okay, all those in favor of the motion, carried. All right, moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Lynn Clegis, that council received the report regarding the municipal support resolution policy for utility installations for information, and that council adopt the municipal support resolution protocol through the enactment of a bylaw later in the meeting. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that council received the report regarding attendance at the 2026 Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario Conference for Information. Looked like it was a good conference. All those in favor? Carried.
And I'll mention the gals were saying that Kelly Pender received an award on behalf of Zone 6, all his contributions. So I thought that was very nice.
I think I saw that on LinkedIn. Okay, food truck opportunity near the K&P trailhead.
Committees.
Oh.
Isn't it? Oh,
No.
yeah. It's under committees.
Oh, sorry, yeah, under committees, Economic Development Committee. Moved by Lynn Clegg, seconded by Susan Irwin, that council accept the Central Frontenac Economic Development Advisory Committee's recommendation to support opportunities related to seasonal food truck vendors and operations at or near the K&P Trailhead, Railway Heritage Park, Public Beach Area, and Village Core in Charlotte Lake. And that staff report back to council with potential options, considerations, and next steps for implementation. Discussion. Bill.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I actually support the idea because we have no food services along that stretch. My concern is that if someone moves into the restaurant down on the hill here and they're paying taxes, do we want someone other than on special days like Canada Day where the Masons and the Lions Club sell hamburgers and such, but do we want a permanent structure down there in the way of a chip truck that are competing with an organization that's actually paying taxes in the township? That's the only concern I have in regard. If they were limited to the Railroad Museum, they're far enough away that I think that would be viable.
And it would be a food truck. It's not a permanent setup. Lynn and then Bill?
And I hear what you're saying, Bill, but I think one of the things that I would like staff to investigate is the concept of signing a limited time agreement for such food truck to exist, maybe for the year or the season, and then you readdress it if somebody moves into one of the restaurant down there, then in the future that spot may not be available. But opening up the idea of allowing food trucks along the KMP trail would be wonderful. And after Bill's question, I would really love if Abby could say what are the next steps and how can we proceed and get this moved forward.
Okay, Bill.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I'm not mistaken, there are already bylaws regulating food services, specifically distances, as you're describing.
Yeah,
So,
Abby will give you the details because there's a zoning under the, zoning bylaw. There's restriction. You have to follow certain things with that as well, even though it's on municipal property.
Okay, what have you got to tell us?
Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out in my brain where to start here. So I suppose the challenge that that comes with this request is that the property that the proposed food truck is intended to be located is zoned open space, which is common for trail type areas, parks, beaches, that sort of what that zone is intended to be used for. And it doesn't permit refreshment sales vehicles as they're defined in the zoning bylaw or chip truck. And so in order to allow that use on the property, they would have to seek some sort of planning relief, whether that be a zoning bylaw amendment or what I believe Lynn and I had chatted about this situation previously, and what she was referring to is called a temporary use bylaw, which has been used in this situation in similar circumstances for other chip trucks within Central Frontenac, and could be used to allow that use on the property for a limited amount of time. And that might give council some good data as to whether or not that use is appropriate, worked well, and other considerations. And it would also give us good data to understand whether or not a licensing program for food trucks might be something that the next council might wish to consider.
And I think the other thing is too, is a few years ago, like Joe Gallivan was on that in regards to refreshment vehicle licensing, because I think he brought that to at one time to council, and that he had got copies of ones that from Pembroke, how they do. I know the city of Kingston certainly has them and where they have their parks. So, but yeah, we'd still have to follow the same with the zoning bylaw and do, the amendments accordingly. So.
Okay, Abby?
Sorry, I can speak to that a little bit further. I did do a little bit of research in preparation for these types of discussions, and that the original idea of licensing chip trucks came about at the time the zoning bylaw was being updated. And at that time, it was being discussed to figure out what zones that chip trucks would be most appropriate in. Because council decided not to go forward with a licensing program at that time, the chip trucks were included in only 2 zones in the township, and that's general commercial and business district. Business district zones are located solely in the Highway 738 corridor there. And then general commercial zones are like areas within the village, but mostly private property and not often municipal property.
Okay. Okay, Lynn and then Dan, and then we're going to call the question. Oh, sorry, did you have your hand up, Nikki? I'm sorry.
So my question is then, given that there was a general inquiry made to Central Frontenac about putting a chip truck at the location by the caboose, is there any way of actually getting that to happen in this year?
Well, I think reporting back to council on the next implementation would be the fair way to do this instead of trying to get the answers tonight.
Yeah.
I think we could go down.
I did not think it would happen tonight. I just thought, is it a possibility to happen in this year?
Well, I think maybe Abby, could you bring back a or like more information? The next meeting is July 14th.
Yeah, absolutely. I already have a report substantially completed, so I'm certainly happy to bring that to council.
Okay.
Sorry, I just lost my train of thought there.
You talk a lot about the temporary license or temporary exception if we want to do something for this year.
Yeah, certainly I can, I have elaborated more on the temporary use bylaw and what that would look like. I think that it could be possible to achieve some sort of a season for a chip truck this year.
Okay.
But it would likely be a reduced season.
Okay, now Nikki, Dan, and then Philip and Cindy. Okay, Nikki.
I was concerned about the chip truck because I know that the market does sell food on Saturdays, which I know is only Saturdays. And then you have the Cardinal Cafe up the street and the hotel, and Mike Dean's also serves ready to serve meals. In the meantime, could signage be put up then at that spot by the caboose that you're thinking to direct people off of the trail up to those 4 options? You know, because we are, and they do actually, not all of them, but most of them serve local sourced food as well. And, you know, it would be an advantage to those businesses that are here and paying taxes already, that not the farmers market, but the other ones pay taxes, and, you know, that we encourage you to pop off the trail to get those meals.
Are you directing that question at me?
I think it's a recommendation that we consider.
I can take it back to the Economic Development Committee for our next meeting and have that discussion. That's a wonderful suggestion.
And I think that's why you will find the old way of doing it was you had to be already onto a business property. Who was next? Dan, you were next. You're not jumping the line, eh?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. No, I don't think. My concern was, I want to echo Nikki that they are taxpayers, and we do have 5 in the area already that are within walking and driving distances. Also, another thought is, what if you get 5 people or 10 people who want to put a chip truck? How do you decide?
Yeah. Philip, then Cindy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Kitty.
Same, Dan kind of took it. So I was going to ask if staff could investigate, because Kathy had mentioned the city of Kingston and they do have them in the parks, but how do you select who is going to be the person that's going to have their...
I do know that the city of Kingston puts out bids, like they put it as an open, and people have to bid on it, I guess, to get one for that year.
Because with no restaurant at the beach, it might be a popular spot. So
Yeah. Okay, so Cindy, your comment's already been made. All right, now I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's carried. And it is to bring back more information. So it's not, okay. All right. You know, it was Mr. McDonald who said this is going to be a short meeting. You see what happens? You never say that out loud. All right, moving on. Moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Lynn Clegus. This is a long one. Whereas the Township of Central Frontenac has a history of successfully supporting and submitting applications through the Ontario Trillium Foundation to enhance recreation, cultural, and community initiatives. And whereas the Ontario Trillium Foundation seeds grant stream supports projects that build community capacity, test new approaches, and strengthen local participation in programs and services. And whereas 2026 has been designated by the United Nations as the International Year for Volunteers, recognizing volunteerism as a key driver of healthy, connected, and resilient communities. And whereas 2028 will mark the 30th anniversary of the amalgamation of the Township of Central Frontenac, presenting an opportunity to strengthen community participation and ensure sustainability of local programs and events for the future. And whereas the township is experiencing declined volunteer participation, which is impacting the delivery and sustainability of key community initiatives, including festivals, recreation programming, trail stewardship, and seniors programming. And whereas the Economic Development Task Force has identified the need to strengthen community capacity and support local initiatives that contribute to quality of life, tourism, and economic development. And whereas there is an opportunity to apply for the Ontario Trillium Foundation Seed Grant Program during the application intake period opening July 22, 2026, with a deadline of August 19th, 2026 at 5 p.m. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council endorse and support the exploration and submission of an application to the Ontario Trillium Foundation Seed Grant Program for the A Vision for Volunteerism in Central Frontenac for 2028 and beyond, township-wide volunteer activation pilot. And further, that council authorize staff to work with the Economic Development Task Force to complete and submit the application through the Ontario Trillium Foundation portal. And further, that the mayor and CO clerk be authorized to enter into a funding agreement with the Ontario Trillium Foundation should the application be successful. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Carried. Oh, no questions? Okay, bylaws. Moved by Nikki Gaddy, seconded by Bill McDonald, that bylaw 2026-30 being a bylaw to adopt a municipal support resolution protocol for utility installations be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 23rd day of June 2026. All those in favor? Carried. Notice of motions? None. Giving of notice of motion. Councillor Gowdy, Central Frontenac Community Improvement Plan. Councillor Everett, Community Radio Station for the Northern Frontenacs. And Councillor Kelsey, speed limits on Arden Road. New or other business. This is moved by Bill McDonald, seconded by Lynn Clegus. Whereas Highway 7 is the only provincial highway within the Township of Central Frontenac, and whereas traffic on Highway 7 has increased and continues to increase significantly in recent years, and whereas there are no passing lanes east or west on Highway 7 within Central Frontenac for a distance of approximately 40 kilometers, resulting in unsafe passing and creating dangerous driving conditions. And whereas Highway 7 serves as an emergency route when Highway 401 is closed or blocked, and whereas local emergency response services are responding to an increasing number of accidents on Highway 7, placing additional pressure on municipal resources. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Central Frontenac requests that the Ministry of Transportation re-examine the timelines for construction and improvements to Highway 7, including the addition of passing lanes and any other improvements necessary to improve traffic flow and public safety, and that council be informed of any current or future plans respecting improvements to Highway 7 within Central Frontenac. And further, that copies of this resolution be forwarded to Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Probat Sequeira, Minister of Transportation, Bruce McGregor, Deputy Minister of Transportation, Charlene Millette, Director, East on Operations, Minister of Transportation, John Jordan, MPP for Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston, and the Honorable Michael Kersner, Solicitor General, and neighboring municipalities for their information and support. Comments, anything? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's a great motion. I just think that we should also include the Minister of Infrastructure, King Masurma, on this, because as we found out at Roma this year when we did our delegation, they're interconnected. And one doesn't seem to do much without the other. So including that minister as well would be advantageous, I believe.
I think that can be a friendly addition, right? Staff will make sure that they include her. Bill and then Susan.
Yeah, I would appreciate council's support on this particular motion. And I would like to also point out, and it's not in here, that the province has a vested interest in this highway because of the entities like the White Lake Fish Hatcheries, the Ontario, 2 provincial parks that are in this area that are being affected by this traffic flow at the same time. So if council supported, I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Susan.
And I absolutely support your proposal.
Bill, turn your mic off.
Okay, so I'll say again, I absolutely support the proposal. I had asked Councillor McDonald before the meeting started why he didn't also suggest traffic lights at the intersection. And he quite astutely pointed out that he does reference other improvements. So that's broad enough to include it. But I just wanted to mention that. And thank you to Bill for putting this forward.
Good. Okay. Dan.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I think we already tried about traffic lights and we got no success whatsoever.
True. We just have to keep nagging. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, closed session. I'm going to read this and then we're going to take a 5-minute break. Moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Bill Everett, that council resolve into closed session pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act to discuss a property matter pursuant to section 239(2) being proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. 2, a property matter pursuant to section 239(2) being a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. 3, a property matter pursuant to section 239(2) being a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality. 4, a matter related to an agreement pursuant to section 239(2) being a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality. And 5, a property matter pursuant to section 239(2) being a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. 6, a matter involving personal information about an identifiable individual pursuant to section 239(2)(b) of the Municipal Act as amended. 7, a matter involving personal information about an identifiable individual pursuant to section 239(2)(b) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. All those in favor? Carried. I think this is the most reading I've had to do in 40 years.
There's lots to get.
Yes. Okay.